Hi, everybody, and welcome to Game Show Talkin' Fun. I'm Scott Goldiner. Joining me today, we have Woj. Welcome, Woj.
Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Yes, and we have a yes, and to everyone here in the United States, we do wish you a happy Memorial Day. And coming us from the land down under, once again, Carla. Carla, welcome back.
Hello. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Always a pleasure to have you. And as you know, David is not with us today due to family emergency. So we wish him the best in everything. And hopefully next week he'll be able to join us again. As we talked about last week in our podcast with the games of Nickelodeon, today we're talking about probably one of his more famous, Nick's most famous game show, the game show that saved the network, Double Dare. But before we get to
not just save, but put it on the map.
Right. And before we get to that, we do have some news to cover. First of all, released was the bonus game for Press Your Luck. So we got some detail on that. So, Woj, are you familiar with how the new end game is going to be working for Press Your Luck?
That depends on which episodes they're showing it in which order, because there's two different spin structures depending on the tape date.
I did not know that.
Now let me explain how this is going to work. Now the first half hour is just the same old Press Your Luck. Buzz and answer gets you 3 spins, multiple choice answer gets you 1 spin, 2 rounds, 4 whammies, you're out of the game. But the winner keeps the cash and the prizes and goes on to the Big Bucks Bonanza. And the Big Bucks Bonanza consists of 6 sets of spins that the contestant has to take. And in some taping days, the setup is 6 spins in the first round, then 5 in the second, 4 in the third, 3 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 1 in the last one. Although in some tape days, it'll be 5, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3. Now, what the contestant has to do, they have to take these spins in each round. They have to take them like the past spins. Although anytime they land on an additional spin space, that means they have to take the spin again. Basically, they're trying to accumulate cash and fantasy prizes. Now, the fantasy prizes are based on the applications that the contestants filled out when they were filling out their applications. Basically, those will be on the board as well, so those will be different for each contestant. At the end of each round of spins, they can decide if they want to opt out of the game or continue going on, because in each round, the top dollar value on the board will increase. First round is 10,000, then 15, 25, 50, 75, and 100. If the contestant reaches $500,000 at any point, their total will be augmented to $1 million.
That sounds like something that only Elliot has ever done with his $1 million version of Press Your Luck.
And it's the same rules as usual. Anytime you hit 4 whammies, the bonus game is over. And something that hasn't really been made clear is that what happens if you run out of spins and you haven't reached $500,000. I'm assuming that you get to keep the cash and the prizes you've won, but that's not confirmed. And also there will be a relationship seat, a la Deal or No Deal there.
Interesting. Very interesting. And also to note, speaking of game shows that are that giving away $1 million, Millionaire is also coming to an end, sadly, as well. Do you think we will see Millionaire return in the future, Woj?
That depends, considering that in 2010, I remember Disney lost a lawsuit with Celador, the original creators of the show. They lost over $400 million of it. So as a result, they had to change the format to the Super Mix, and I know they eventually changed it back to the original format, but the damage was kind of done. The questions were made harder, and I feel that we could see Millionaire again, but not in daytime, since I think with considering the lack of money they've been giving away in recent years, I think Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was one of those shows that was just never meant to work on daytime TV, considering with all the big money that you potentially give away and you have no choice but to make the questions hard. So if it were, it would have to come back to prime time, maybe as a limited series like it was 20 years ago. But considering that we've, as you can see by the recent years with ABC's Fun and Games, I think we're past the era of the money ladder shows. I mean, Beat Shazam is an exception considering that's more like a bonus game. So, to answer your question, I don't see Millionaire coming back as a regular series.
Now, Carla, we know that Millionaire is still going on down there in Australia in the hot seat format.
Yes.
Do you think that the hot seat format could work as a series up here in the States?
I reckon it could. Because we didn't like the fact that first it was going to have half an hour of fastest fingers first. The one who wins the most questions wins $1,000. They get to take it home regardless. And the second half was basically the same Millionaire format, but 6 people. Basically, if you pass, it goes to the next person. In that time of the new format of Millionaire Hot Seat, there has only been one Millionaire winner.
Right, and we've all seen the clip now. Woj, do you believe that the hot seat version of Millionaire could work?
Considering how many format changes we've gone through with the clock, the super mix, and eventually going back to the money ladder, I think anything's possible.
We'll just have to keep our fingers crossed and hopefully ABC, Disney, and Celador can come to agreement. Only time will tell with Millionaire, as it is. I would truly say Millionaire is one of those game shows that deserves to be designated as a classic game show. Would you agree with that, Woj?
This is the game show that launched us into the modern era of game shows. It brought forth a formula of a money ladder, a darkened set, a dramatic atmosphere, and that's what permeated throughout the first decade of the 20-aughts and still even part of the 20-teens. I mean, nowadays those kinds of game shows are few and far between in terms of money ladders, and I mean, whether or not there has been a positive influence or negative influence will depend on your point of view, but one thing's for sure, I mean, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was the first of its kind.
Right. And here at Game Show Talkin' Fun, we salute to those 20-odd years of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And I say this one is definitely going in to the Game Show Talkin' Fun Game Show Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
If we even have one.
Well, we just started one if we didn't. So that, we put Millionaire into the Game Show Hall of Fame with all the other classic game shows that we love, like Press Your Luck and the topic today. Now, real quick, Beat Shazam came back. Beat Shazam is back for another season with Jamie Foxx and his daughter and everything. Has there been any changes with the rules from the past couple seasons on that show?
None that I know of. None that's really been reported in recent years by any of, or recent weeks by any of the game show websites.
And musical-based game shows are always fun to play along with at home. Case in point, my favorite show, Name That Tune. But we'll save the musical game shows for another topic further down the road. But today, and that's the news for this week. We if we don't have a smash or trash topic to talk about, we'll bring you the news of what's going on in the game show world and everything. So that's what was going on in the past week and everything. So now let's hop in our DeLorean and go back in time to the start of Nickelodeon and the start of probably its most franchised game show series, Double Dare.
Yep.
So, Woj, before we get into the different versions and everything about this, what do you remember solely about Double Dare, and what made it appealing to everybody?
Well, considering I was still basically a sperm when Double Dare first hit the airwaves, I can only tell you retroactively since, the original Double Dare lasted from 1986 to 1993, so I was still a 2-year-old when it was canceled. But to answer your question about what made Double Dare so appealing to those of Generation X and the millennials, that's up until that time, there really wasn't a game show for kids solely. You had kids' versions of other shows, but those were few and far between. And
like the teen weeks on Pressure Luck, the back to school week on Pressure Luck,
and Joker for Joker's Wild,
and then the kids week also for Card Sharks, I believe.
Yeah, basically it combined basically all different kinds of shows between a trivia section and a stunt section, combined with mess and a fun atmosphere, a tag team of host and announcer, and also with when you have a host like Mark Summers, who was raised on the early era of television, he knew how to make references that adults would appreciate, and also being able to relate to kids by treating them as equals, and all in all, just giving them as fun of an atmosphere as they could, because kids evidently didn't really go on the show to win the big money or the prizes. They just wanted to get messy, do the stunts, and have a good time.
Right. And maybe answer some trivia questions and everything. Now, the gameplay was very simple, and the rules went something a little bit like this. Woj?
Okay, I shall ask you a question, and if you don't know the answer or think the other team doesn't have a clue, you can always dare them for double the dollars. But be careful, they can always double dare you back for 4 times the amount. At that point, you must either answer the question or take the physical challenge. Now, essentially, this game, in case you didn't know, was actually inspired by the classic childhood game of Truth or Dare.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
You know how whenever a kid asks you to take a truth or dare, if you want to admit to an embarrassing secret or embarrass yourself in a public medium by taking on one of their devilish dares, that's just something that the creators, Jeffrey Darby and Mike Klinghoffer, worked on, but made it more playable for television in terms of basically, since you can't really judge the truth, they changed it to just trivia questions, and the dare being in terms of daring your opponents to answer and eventually taking a dare yourself with the physical challenges.
Right.
Although
I'm gonna have to quickly interrupt for some breaking news real quick that was brought to my attention. Buzzer, for those of us who watch Buzzer on a regular basis, if you get it through Pluto TV or through your regular cable provider, or if you watch it through through the online site, Buzzer announced Black and White Price is Right episodes for the 4th anniversary this Sunday. So
awesome.
the Bill Cullen era of the Price is Right on Buzzer for the 4th anniversary. So
this is the first time that Price is Right, any classic Price is Right, has been seen in reruns in over 20 years.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So I wanted to quickly get that out. And as Brian brought that to my attention. So thank you, Brian, for that bit of news real quick.
And back to our regularly scheduled program.
And back to the topic at hand. Now, I grew up with it in the 90s. I think during the Super Sloppy era. Now, it should also be noted that Double Dare, when it first was taped, it was actually taped in Philadelphia, a lot with some of the other Nick game shows that were starting out at the time.
That's right. For the first 4 years, it taped in Philadelphia at their PBS affiliate. Unfortunately, because for all their game shows, the studios in Philadelphia were too small to do what they really wanted. So that's why
Right.
Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando was built, and giving them a much bigger space to breathe. I mean, let's put it this way: Legends of the Hidden Temple would have been impossible to tape in Philadelphia.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, they could have done it up here in New York over at Silver Cup.
I mean, are those studios big enough, or the Steiner Studios?
I believe so. Either that or the Astoria Kaufman Studios,
Yeah,
where Sesame Street is actually taped.
And that's also where the Carmen San Diego game shows were taped.
They were taped up here in New York?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
At the Kaufman Astoria Studios.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. See, like I said in previous episodes, we learn something new every time we do this on this podcast.
And nowadays, the current Double Dare is taped at the CBS Studio Center, not Television City, but CBS Radford Studios, Studio 22, just across the street from the Big Brother house.
Wow.
Ooh.
But Price is Right is still taped at Television City.
That's right. CBS has 2 studios in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Wow.
I did not know that. You would think with a game show like Double Dare would be taped at their Hollywood studios that they have.
And I think it's considering the amount of storage they need for all their props and physical challenges. I think they just needed bigger space.
Now, let's talk about the physical challenges. Let's talk about that. Now, I know it's been said, I know Mark has gone on record to say this, that if the staff could not complete the physical challenge, that stunt would not get shown to air and everything. I remember him saying that in a
behind the scenes.
Yeah, in the behind the scenes, like if they were able to do the stunt in practice, that stunt would get put into the rotation. There was only one stunt that they were able to complete in practice, but it failed on the air.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that was the one, the lock on the doors.
Yes.
I think that one is just pure luck in terms of just getting the right key for the right look. I mean, they just got very lucky in testing.
Right.
They were just unlucky on the set.
Right. Considering you got the clock and everything and the lights and the cameras and everything with that. But let it be. And then even when Double Dare moved down to Orlando, Florida, with their studio tours and their game lab, they also tested out physical challenges as well down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. But we have the 80s, and Double Dare becomes a really big hit for the network and it puts the network on the map. It literally saved the network in a way.
I mean, up until that time, the only real successful show they had was importing the episodes of You Can't Do That on Television.
Right.
I like that show.
Yeah, that was a fun show. And they've also imported other shows from around the world too.
Yeah, but You Can't Do That on Television was where they first discovered their trademark slime.
Right.
In Canada.
From our friends up north in Canada. I'm just now, of course, we can't have a great game show like Double Dare without having a great game show host as Mark Summers and everything.
Yeah, Mark Summers, up until this point in the 70s and the 80s, he had been around the game show industry in many aspects. I know he was a writer on Truth or Consequences, the last season that Bob Barker was there. He worked he worked as a page on The Price is Right. I mean, he was one of those people that wore the red jackets, I know.
Yeah, and he also hosted Couch Potatoes.
Well, that was after Double Dare. I mean, he was also he was a substitute announcer on The Joker's Wild one time.
Cool.
I think he might have been a writer for Hitman, but again, I don't know if that was just the same Mark Summers. But really, his big role was he he replaced Gene Wood halfway through the run on Bruce Forsyth's Hot Streak as an announcer.
I like that.
Was
I
that was
like
that
it.
because Gene Wood passing?
No, Gene Wood he went on to do Card Sharks at CBS.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah, and Mark had also done audience warm up, and it's interesting the people that he beat out for this job. I mean, initially the first choice was actually Soupy Sales. He was rejected because the network thought he was too old.
I
right.
don't know.
And then someone you might have heard of named Dana Carvey actually auditioned for the show,
Oh, what a great guy.
and he was
Right now.
hired to do it. The problem was, not long afterwards, he got a call from Lorne Michaels saying that he was hired to do Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And really, Dana auditioned for Double Dare just in case Saturday Night Live didn't work out. I mean, it would have been difficult for him to do both in two different cities. I mean, and that creates another butterfly effect, considering Wayne's World is not the same without him.
Right.
Nah.
But take a look at, I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but take a look at Johnny Olson. I think Johnny Olson would travel from New York to LA to do the tapings and then go back.
Yeah, and also apparently the person who almost got the job when he auditioned side by side with Mark was Michael Berger.
The guy who did the Match Game 98 version. Of
Yeah,
Match Game.
he was someone who competed head to head with Mark in the final auditions, and then Mark Summers ended up getting hired since he was the most natural on camera.
Right. Now, throughout the years, it evolved like we were talking about with the aggro cragging in Global Guts and everything with that. But over the show became, as the show became more popular, it became more messy. And originally started out as Double Dare. Now, we can't talk about Double Dare without mentioning the other two sidekicks that were always there with Mark Summers. We can't. And local radio announcer now turned
Handyman.
Handyman, Harvey, and
John.
of course, yeah. Well, I'm just going to call him by what he was known by, Harvey, and everything. And then of course the other assistant to Mark's Fowley, Robin.
Yeah, Robin Morella, now Robin Russo.
Yes.
Yeah, Robin was the most prominent of all the assistants since she's the one that got the most questions by Mark on camera, and she eventually carried over to his other show, What Would You Do?
Right. Now, and Harvey was also from he was a Philadelphia announcer on had his own radio show on now the funny thing about that was his radio show was canceled months early before Double Dare actually started taping.
Well, he was known as Harvey the announcer on WIOQ in Philadelphia.
Right.
Yeah, so and his show had gotten canceled, and then that's when he auditioned for Double Dare, and he ended up getting the job. I mean, and he was the announcer for the first 6 years of the show, although
until he had he had his baby and everything.
Yeah, and it became difficult for him to commute from Philadelphia to Orlando.
Right.
So as a result, a local Orlando radio personality named Doc Holliday ended up taking the job.
And I think Doc Holliday did a great job. He had big shoes to fill, but it kind of was almost never the same with that because you kind of missed that banter that Harvey and Mark had with each other.
That's because Harvey and Mark were like Johnny and Ed on that show. Basically, they were always trading barbs with each other. He would always bring out Harvey to often demonstrate a physical challenge or have Harvey wear some kind of costume. They were like brothers on the show, and whereas Doc Holliday, he just announced from his booth. He was not the comic sidekick that Harvey was.
And of course, Harvey also lent his name to a few of the physical challenges as well.
The Oats, I remember.
Yeah. And they also pay tribute to Hollywood Squares in one episode as
Yeah.
well.
Really?
With Harvey and the one square they had.
Yep.
I mean, he wore all kinds of costumes on the show. I remember one time he was Tarzan swinging around the obstacle course. He was Elvis Presley one time.
Right.
And also,
Now-
I remember one time when the famous celebrity chef Tell was a guest on the show. Harvey played a waiter or a maitre d' as he brought him and Mark and the players onto the obstacle course.
And then, of course, we had the infamous episode. I wouldn't say infamous. The famous Super Sloppy, which kind of upped the slime, upped the obstacles for the obstacle course, and they were always introducing new obstacles to that obstacle course and everything. And then even during the Super Sloppy format, which ran alongside regular Double Dare as well. I think it was like during the weekends they did it and everything. January 1989. Now, before that, in the 80s, we should mention that Double Dare transitioned from Nickelodeon to Fox a little bit. Right. And this version would lay down the groundwork for the final incarnation of Double Dare. And this one was known as, I believe it was called Fox's Family Double Dare.
Yes, I mean, that was in the mid-'80s, I know.
Yeah.
That aired as a summer show, I think.
Right, for 13 weeks. And on that one, they actually introduced a jackpot. I think it was in one of the obstacles was a rowing jackpot.
Number 7, which started at $2,000 and increased by $500 every time it wasn't won.
So, and now before we get into Family Double Dare and then later Double Dare 2000 and now its current incarnation, real quick. So, Woj, I'm going to ask this to you, and then Carla, I'll get to you as well with this as well. Do you have any favorite, like your top 5 favorite obstacles from the obstacle course?
Let's see. I mean, I know everybody says the Sunday slide. Let's see what, and also the hamster wheel. I mean, I also like the soda machine where they would
the soda jerk.
Yeah, and also the bowling pins.
Right, and a lot of those obstacles have come back and everything.
Yeah, and also Mount St. Double Dare, which has basically become an aggro crag in and of itself.
Yep.
I mean the obstacles where you have to search in something like the Blue Plate Special or the dog food or the garbage truck, those are the big time drainers. I mean, that's what they became more prominent when Family Double Dare came around, since the prizes increased in value for that obstacle course. So the obstacle courses were a lot harder.
I mean, we can't talk about the Double Dare obstacle course, as it's also known as, without, talking about one famous, like there was a couple famous Find It obstacles. First of all, the nose.
Oh yeah, the picket. They basically where it would shoot slime out of the nostrils, and sometimes depending on the generosity of production or the budget, the flag could be way up at the top or right at the bottom, and then it's also hard to dig through when the slime is just squirting out at you.
Right. Now, some of my favorite, like that was an example of the Find It type. I mean, they always had like a good mix of the Find It and the straight. You got to run through this.
Yeah,
and everything.
I think they had a better mix of that in the regular Double Dare, where it's just 2 teams of kids.
Right, and of course, another famous classic would be down the hatch.
Yeah, right through the mouth there.
But kind of reminds me of the mouth from the logo from the Rolling Stones.
And the Red Hot Chili Peppers as well.
And probably I would say this as probably the worst obstacle in the entire show, the garbage truck.
That's what I remember
Oh.
Cindy rating as the worst obstacle ever.
Oh.
Now, what in your mind? What made it the worst? Why? What made the garbage truck the worst obstacle ever?
Well, first of all, the fact that when you start searching through the bed of the truck, I mean, more garbage falls down and causes the flag to get even further buried. Or if the flag was up there at the top of the truck, it would be sometimes get stuck, or it would be buried right underneath the rest of the garbage. And I remember one time when they were searching through the obstacle during the credits for the flag. It wasn't until right at the end of the credits they finally found it. So as a result, it would be buried too deep, or it would blend in with the colors of the slime or whatever props they had in there.
Right. And I'm looking at it here.
I mean, although if you personally ask me, my least favorite obstacle was the keyboard they had, or the typewriter.
Yeah, Hunt and Peck. Now, according to the Double Dare wiki page and everything, it says here it was known as the horrendous obstacle, caused a lot of ruined course runs due to the fact that the flag was very well hidden in GAC, making it nearly impossible to search for. And what you were talking about was in 1992, Renee of the Red Foxes team could not find the flag. So Mark and her teammates and some of the crew helped in looking for it, and was still doing so while the credits were rolling. It was also prone to mechanical failure, as the scoop wouldn't often budge when the lever was pulled. When this happened, the flag would sometimes be in the scoop other than the garbage pile. Mark would just usually tell them to just move on to the next one, and he would just credit them.
Yeah, that happened. That would happen any time that a flag got stuck in an obstacle, that the flag wouldn't come down from anything they had to pull down, like the bird cage or the soda jerk. I mean, if that happened, they automatically got credit.
Or the blimp.
Right.
And then, of course, you had, probably one of the more famous ones are Icy Trike. That was always a good one, too.
Yeah, we could go on all night about our favorite obstacles.
Right. And we'll probably make it into another, that would probably be another podcast for another bag.
There's already a lightning round video on this channel displaying the top 10 greatest Double Dare obstacles. That was back when the 30th anniversary celebration was coming up. And it was
wow.
Now,
and that's really what ignited this whole potential new revival that we have now, was when they did the 30th anniversary at Comic-Con that year, and it really got Nickelodeon to be serious about reviving the show.
Well, let's move on. Now we get to Family Double Dare, and now they're using for the first couple of seasons of Family Double Dare, it was just regular. But when they got to the final season, they made it as a tournament of champions. They were looking for the two fastest teams on the obstacle course and the two teams that answered the most questions, and they made it an hour-long special. Now, in your mind, up to that point, when they made that last season, the Tournament of Champions, did they know that the show was going to not be revived the following season?
No. Actually, believe it or not, Nickelodeon actually renewed them for another season, but Mark, feeling that they had already done 525 episodes for Nickelodeon at that point, they felt that they could do reruns forever. So there was a mutual agreement to end the show. But that wasn't decided until after the episode aired.
Right. Yeah. Now we get to the 2000s. And let's welcome to the podcast our good friend Chuck. Chuck, welcome to you.
Thank you.
Now,
Sorry, I was eating.
no, that's fine. No, we were just talking about the final season of Family Double Dare with the Tournament of Champions.
hmm
In your mind, did you when you were watching that final season, did you ever think that that was going to be the final season for Double Dare at that time, or did you think, like everybody else, that they're going to do another tournament with Family Double Dare for the next season and everything?
Well, I had a feeling it was it. For example, I
Well,
was there on the last day of taping with
oh,
my
you
family
were?
down in Florida.
Oh, nice. Did you actually see the taping?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, so all right.
Yeah, which shirt are you wearing in that? I'm trying to look for you in that audience.
I was all the way in the back.
All right. So Chuck, let me ask you a few questions real quick about this
hmm
and everything. With being there at the taping, what was it like to seeing Double Dare being taped and filmed for that? What was it like? What was the experience? Okay, can you fill us in on that? Like, what was it like seeing the show being filmed and everything?
Well, I was around 5 years old at the time. I was thought, wow, actually seeing the taping of Double Dare. Oh my God, I was in.
Nirvana.
You could say
But-
that.
Yeah,
Well, for to be appropriate for kindergartners, Candyland.
right. Or it's like being in the chocolate room of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Amen to that.
So now then we were finishing up with that. Now we get into the 2000s and everything. So Nickelodeon takes a stab at reviving Double Dare with Double Dare 2000.
Interesting to
Oh.
note,
Yes.
they had done one pilot for that, in which Josh Server from All That hosted it, along with Doc Holliday returning as his announcer,
Wow.
Wow.
and also apparently someone by the name of Tom Kenny auditioned to be the host as well.
SpongeBob.
Yep, the current voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Oh wow! Now that I didn't know. Now, Woj, actually, we'll start this one with Chuck and everything. Chuck, what do you think was the Achilles heel to why Double Dare 2000 why it failed and everything?
Well, the
What
reason.
was?
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, the reason why I thought Double Dare 2000 flopped because there weren't too many physical challenges in the main game, and the trivia questions were kind of easy, but we wanted more physical challenges though. But
So there's a reason for that.
Now, Woj, question to you with in regards of of Double Dare up to the start of Double Dare 2000, about per show, how many physical challenges were there per se, like on average per show?
Usually on the average episode, they had 2 or 3. There was always usually at least 1 per round, sometimes 2. Only occasionally would you get to 4.
And this should be noted by Elliot as well, because Elliot mentioned this. There was actually one team that actually used the strategy of the game for what it was meant to use for.
Well, it happened several times. It was just few and far between.
Right. So now, let me ask you this. Now we get to round 2 of Double Dare 2000 and everything. How do you think the Triple Dare, now if you were to test to bring back the Triple Dare challenge, how do you think it should have been done, and how do you think it should have been done properly in
Well,
that sense? We'll
we could-
go to you, Woj, on this one.
Well, we could have then raise the stakes to the triple dog dare or the quadruple cat dare.
Well, let's just leave it as the Triple Dare Challenge.
Yeah, but the thing is that with the Triple Dare Challenge, there was a lot. They would always have, the marching band playing as they mentioned it almost every time, and also there was a lot of pageantry around it when they brought the box out. So,
Or the monkey, I forgot his name.
yeah, the thing is that with all the time it took to explain the stunt, and that was another thing. The host was Jason Harris Katz, who you may remember as the voice of Chad Dixon on Codename Kids Next Door.
Oh,
They-
wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
My wife watched that when she was a kid.
Yeah, the thing is that he was not very good at explaining rules. I mean, I remember Mark Summers once said that one of the jobs of a game show host is that you have to explain semi-complicated things in 30 seconds, otherwise people can change the
dear.
channel.
Right. Now,
And he was not very good at keeping his explanations brief.
right. Now, the one thing is that we know, I think this was either stated from Mark or somebody else, was that, Mark had, he had a direct feed to Jason Harris as well, but I think he kept getting overruled by the
But-
network executives.
Yeah, and also the executive producers that were in charge of that revival, because Mark was the executive consultant. He was not the executive producer that he is now.
Right. We'll get to why he is the executive producer of the show in just a few. But go ahead.
Well, and also the thing is that he explained in an AfterBuzz interview that the Triple Dare Challenge was something that they took way too long to explain, and usually by the time it was over, the game was already over. And it also didn't help that the physical challenges, as Chuck was explaining earlier, were a lot more elaborate and complicated this time around. And as a result, combined with Jason Harris's rule explanations, they got to fewer physical challenges, and which led to, and it seeped into the Triple Dare Challenge as well.
Right. And you would only ever see one physical challenge in round two.
That was a consequence.
Right. And I think that was the downfall to that.
Yeah,
And-
basically, and also even when he was doing the question round, the game was played at a much slower pace, mostly because
Right. Because up to that point, Mark had mastered it. Now, the funny thing is, and this has been known throughout the thing, that up to a point, Mark would always have to read the rules off of cue cards, I believe.
well, he did. I mean, until he cue cards are still used to this day, and
Right.
even for those who are industry professionals.
Yeah, until he finally memorized it in one episode.
Where he went over there and ripped up the cue cards.
Yeah. I remember seeing that episode when I was a kid.
Yep.
It even
That-
made it into the best of set on one of the videos.
Right. And a lot of these classic episodes, I believe, they are still floating around on YouTube. So you can always YouTube
Or Daily
do a-
Motion.
or Daily Motion and do a search for a lot of these classic episodes. Now,
Mhm.
now we get to the obstacle course. Now let's talk about Jason Harris's. Do we know anything about the announcer that worked with Jason Harris on the show?
Her name is Tiffany Phelps.
Do we know anything about her?
I think she was some kind of DJ in Florida.
Hang on.
Yeah, she doesn't have her own Wikipedia page, so I think she was just a local TV personality.
Right. Now, in between Double Dare 2000 from 2012 to 2016, the Nickelodeon Suites Resort in Orlando, Florida, did a nightly version of Double Dare called Double Dare Live.
Yeah, they were doing that to commemorate the 25th anniversary.
And we do have Double Dare Live once again. I believe Mark is on the road with Phil Moore now, as well, doing Double Dare Live. And
Most
everything.
of Nick Arcade.
Yeah,
Right.
and Robin, although it's a shame that Liza is too busy with her YouTube account to really contribute to those live shows.
But hey, if we have Mark and we have Phil out there doing this, it just makes the experience that much better and everything.
especially considering that it's really what I mean. Everybody who is a millennial or a Gen Xer is really hawking to meet their childhood idol.
Right. And let it be known that even for me, Mark Summers was one of those people that I looked up to as a game show host and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Now,
And don't
Go
forget,
ahead.
Double Dare What Live was also at the Nickelodeon Hotel as well.
that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
Now we get to 2018. We get to last year and everything. And Double Dare comes back. Now, let it be known, and this is why we say why Mark's now the executive producer. Mark literally bought the rights from Jeffrey Darby. So Mark Summers is the sole owner of Double Dare.
Awesome.
yeah,
That's amazing.
I mean, sharing an executive producer credit also with Liza Koshy and a few other people.
Right.
And and also sharing a production credit between Nickelodeon and Fremantle Media.
Explain that. Why?
Again.
How is Fremantle involved with this?
I'm guessing that they were just hired by Nickelodeon to produce the show for them or really get financial backing or sponsors. It's basically what happened with Classic Concentration a few years back. NBC owns the rights to so the whole of Concentration, but they just hired Mark Goodson to produce it for them, and then they would, once it was canceled, the rights went back to NBC.
Right. So it's basically on lease.
Yes.
So it says here, now I found it in the wiki page of that. Like you said earlier, the show is now taped at CBS Studio City and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Mark actually picked Liza to host this himself.
Yeah, I mean, considering, I don't know if he had actively seeked her out or if Liza came in to audition, but again, I haven't gone through all the daytime TV interviews he's done, but all I know is that he has praised her for doing her homework and just being an energetic and sweet person.
Right.
And she's got also her own YouTube channel. I think it's how she's popular because not only that and Double Dare and also her YouTube channel.
Yeah, and
Right.
also she got famous on Vine first, and then when Vine shut down, she moved
She was
to
on
YouTube.
Vine? I didn't know that.
Right. See? Like I said, we learn something new every day on the show. So, yeah, it says here that along with Mark is now the announcer to the show as well too. So he basically is in the role of John Harvey, of basically Harvey and Doc Holliday.
Yeah, and he's basically going back to what he initially first got on television with, as
Right.
in terms of at least something of him. As like I said, he did the announcing for Joker's Wild and Hot Streak.
But he is also having an on-camera presence as well. So
That's
he
right.
provides the commentary of the show's physical challenges and helps introduce elements and transitions the gate and transition of the gate. Summers is also one of the show's executive producer. Fremantle produces the series on behalf of Nickelodeon. So I guess Mark got in touch with Fremantle and everything that way.
And of course, he throws in the occasional dad jokes on the show.
Yeah, those popsicle stick jokes that he trades with Liza.
Oh, brother.
So
Well, what can you say? It's a kid's show.
right,
And
But
it's
it's a
also
show-
most of the nostalgia factor, too.
right.
Yeah, basically, he's there to bridge the two generations. Basically, what the recent Star Wars movies have done.
Right.
Oh.
Now, with that said, I mean, not much of the show has changed. I know that with the new season out, they changed it from the front game being where you can win money, that now they transitioned that to points, and the money is now won in the obstacle course.
What?
Yeah, basically, I don't know how many of these weeks they've done, but it was starting last March when season 2 began, and basically the first week I know coincided with the Kids' Choice Awards, and the second week they did was with the stars of the WWE. Basically, they started the week. There's 4 episode chunks. First episode, they would have 2 teams of 4 competing, and the team that wins moves on. They play the obstacle course for $500 an obstacle. and which with $5,000 for completing all 8. Then each of the team members gets to play their own game against one of their other teammates along with a celebrity. I mean, I know for the Bella twins were recent guests on an episode. Basically,
So
they
it's the New Day as well.
so once that kid would win their game, and with their celebrity, they would move on to the final show, along with the winner of the 3rd episode, and basically the 2 remaining teams on the 4th episode would compete to be the winners and would run the obstacle course to win $10,000 cash. Now, I don't know if they're going to do this for the non-celebrity episodes, or if this is or if every week is including celebrities. That's yet to be determined. If this is a permanent addition to the format.
Right. So if it's just for the celebrity weeks, then would it be a return to format?
Again, it's hard to really do that show with when you have celebrities competing for prizes. I mean, I guess it could be fine for what it is, but again, I don't know if they're really going to do this for non-celebrity episodes, or if they're just going to have all kids from now on just competing as strangers with each other or as friends. I mean, because this tournament would really only work if they came in as individuals and teaming up with strangers.
Now with Double Dare being revived, according to the wiki article here that I'm looking at, news outlets in March also have announced that Blue's Clues that they're working on trying to bring back Blue's Clues for their Nick Jr. block. And
Rugrats come back as a live action movie.
Yeah, I mean that's what Mark was explaining when Clarissa Explains It All came back, and all these things. He was wondering, when is my time coming?
Right,
and all that's coming back as well.
Yeah. And we should mention that all that is coming back with Kenan Thompson as the executive producer on that.
That's right.
I mean, isn't Kel producing as well?
The one that's on SNL right now.
Kenan Thompson.
Kenan is on it.
Yeah, and he's also getting his own TV show as well too.
Yeah, he's the longest tenured cast member on Saturday Night Live. 16 years.
Oh, wow.
What? 16 years? Kenan's been doing SNL?
Cool.
Wow.
And let's just say this. I'm just actually glad that Nickelodeon's actually deciding to reboot all that, because Saturday evening, 7:00
was always time for Snick.
Yep. Saturday night Nickelodeon.
I mean, it also kind of got started several years back when they started doing their 90s Are All That block in the middle of the night, which I think eventually got its own channel.
Now, here's my question to everyone, and I'll go down the line. With Double Dare being the success as it is and everything now, does that open the door to seeing the other 2 classic game shows that came out at the same time as Double Dare? Do we see Finders Keepers, and do we see Think Fast coming back?
I don't see either of those 2 shows. I think Legends of the Hidden Temple has more of a chance than either of those 2.
Right.
What about him and Nick Arcade? Probably, because
Phil Moore is actually trying to get that one to come back.
I mean, I remember he did some kind of what was it, GoFundMe or some kind of independent drive for that.
And of course, esports is on the rise with video games and mostly on TV every week.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be with the classic games. I think it'll have a lot of modern elements.
Overwatch, Halo.
I mean, Figure It Out. We already had that one, so
it flopped big time.
But I liked it.
No, Figure It Out had an okay run. I mean, you're thinking of My Family's Got Guts.
Oh God! Don't bring that one up. No.
We talked about that last week, Chuck.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God I wasn't here for that.
Especially like with Figure It Out. Like I said, we really couldn't talk about Figure It Out without bringing up the Mark Goodson, Bill Todman game shows. I've Got a Secret and What's My Line.
or any other influences.
Right. But with Double Dare and everything, does that open the door for other Nick game shows? And will Mark have a hand in trying to get those shows back on the air?
I mean, if there's anything Mark can do, I mean, it would have to be any show that Nick has some kind of stake in, since it'll be easier for him to. I mean, considering his relationship with Jeffrey Darby and Mike Klinghoffer, I think it would be easy for him to get those, like Finders Keepers and Think Fast. But something like Legends of the Hidden Temple, you'd have to go through Stone Stanley, or really Scott Stone, since he's the one who produced the show for Nickelodeon. I mean, there weren't that many outside producers that really came in and did shows for Nickelodeon.
Well, what about Make the Grade?
I mean, Scott Stone is the exception, because Scott Stone produced Legends of the Hidden Temple, Brain Surge, and what was that show they did on the beaches of Hawaii that aired a couple years back?
I have no idea.
Bring him to
no idea.
Nickelodeon soon. Are You Smarter Than the Fifth Grade? I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Burnett, again, another independent producer coming to Nickelodeon.
Now here's the other question with that. And let me start off with you, Chuck.
Okay.
In your mind, what made Double Dare, in your mind, a great game show?
A lot of elements. Fun, physical challenges, all that good stuff. But the one thing that really stood out to me was the craziness that it had throughout the series.
And now go ahead.
Okay. And another thing that also drove me to Double Dare was the fun and the crazy obstacle courses where you can win up to 8 great prizes and all that fun stuff.
Yep. Now, Chuck, be honest with us here. When you saw that obstacle course, even if we see it today, did you want to run? Did you ever want to say, I wish I could run through that obstacle course?
Sure did, man.
Who didn't?
Right. It's just like running through the temple or climbing the Aggro Crag.
Or the Fun House, or any other.
Or the romper room in
Finders Keepers.
Yeah.
The room romp.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank for a minute.
Actually, that brings up a question here, Woj. Since Stone Stanley produced Legends of the Hidden Temple, and we know the success of Double Dare right now, we do know also that Stone Stanley produced Funhouse. Do you think that we could see Double Dare's rival, Funhouse, transition over to being a Nickelodeon game show?
If Sonic can appear in Mario games on the Nintendo Wii, anything's possible.
Now, if that is possible, and everything, and we'll spend an episode talking about Funhouse and its sister show College Madhouse and the impact of Funhouse around the world as well, in the UK as well with that. But I know on Double Dare they were always cracking jokes at Funhouse and everything.
Yeah, and they also had a friendly rivalry with other shows like Finders Keepers and Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, and I remember one episode when Harvey was writing on the chalkboard, "I will not watch Funhouse," and kept on like how they did in school. I will not make fun of the teacher.
Yeah, basically what Bart Simpson's been doing for 30 years.
Yeah.
Now, Woj, same question to you. What was the appeal to Double Dare for you?
Well, for me personally, now, just to let you know, I didn't see Double Dare until I got the reruns of Nick Gas on my when I first got cable, that was basically when I was a teenager, and the first version I saw was Double Dare 2000, and I appreciated it for what it was, and then about a year later, I see episodes of the Summers era come online, and I realized that what Double Dare 2000 did wrong in comparison to what the Double Dare everyone else knows. I mean,
Right.
and I liked it for how fast paced it was.
Yeah.
I liked that Mark Summers was he basically treated the show as if he was doing Jeopardy, and he treated the kids as if they were his equals. I mean, he didn't say anything condescending to them. He didn't, talk in a funny voice or ask condescending questions. He treated them as if they were equals, and it was also a very fast paced game that really the mess was just felt organic to the show as opposed to just being there just for messing on purpose.
Right.
I mean, everything had a purpose. Everything was fun.
And Mark always came off as he came off genuine as a game show host.
Yeah, because that's the mistake that most kids game show hosts, including Jason Harris, try to do. They try too hard to be hip.
Now, with the exception, Greg Lee, the host of Carmen Sandiego, do you think from his time as being a warm-up announcer on Double Dare, and Greg Lee was the warm-up guy from Double Dare that got the job to host Carmen, do you think when Greg went to go do Carmen that he was also a genuine host, like he cared?
Well, I think it was more so in the early years because he was a very easygoing host. I mean, and also he had a much more challenging role in terms of learning the sketches and keeping everything moving. I mean, and also being excited for kids who would win their prizes. And so I feel that he was able to, he maintained that easygoing and genuine nature.
And they probably learned it from Mark Summers as well.
Yep.
Yeah, Mark even showed up on a couple episodes of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Wow.
I think wasn't that during the second season, I think?
Well, I showed up on, I think, the final season and also the famous unaired episode.
What about did they ever make an appearance on Where in Time at all?
Yeah,
Well, Chuck, we'll save that for we'll save Carmen Sandiego as a podcast topic and everything, and the impact of that show and everything with that. Now, Carla, I'm not familiar. Did Australia have a version of Double Dare down there?
Yes, yes we did. I think it was Family Double Dare. I think, as someone told me, I only ran for like a couple of seasons in the 90s.
Now, did you ever see the version that we were talking about?
I might have saw a little bit of clips on YouTube, but I don't think I've actually seen full episode.
Right. Now, I remember. Now, Woj, correct me if I'm wrong on this and everything.
I'll be sure to.
Okay. Now, I remember at one point in the 90s that Nick did a marathon of Double Dare, and I think they were showing Double Dare from different places around the world as well. I think they were showing the United Kingdom and Australia in that.
I seem to recall some kind of international showing of these things, but I'm not sure if it was through a marathon. I know what you're talking about. I mean, I know they showed it somewhere.
And they called Australia's version of Double Dare Good Day USA.
No, they didn't. Chuck?
Good Day USA, you're thinking of the sequel to Kangaroo Jack.
No,
That's not what they called it.
hang on.
G'day USA is just basically Australia bringing products and stuff.
Basically, whatever you find in a gift shop at Sydney International Airport.
No, basically, G'day Australia was just Australia is bringing products that we have here to America to show them if they want to buy them or not.
That's right.
Because they don't have Paul Hogan to advertise anymore after his tax cuts.
Right.
No, besides, Paul Hogan's had a little bit too much to drink and he's still doing it.
Who is the host of the Australian Double Dare? Who is the host of it?
Larry Ebner, who hosts The Price is Right, and of course,
was that the failed version of The Price is Right that happened down there?
Yeah, the 2012 one where they advertised as a big mess of Big W. Yep.
Which is basically what Walmart here is in America.
You explained it well, Woj.
I mean, imagine Price is Right, all Walmart products and plugged every 5 seconds.
That's a ding right there, man.
I don't think I could picture that.
Alright.
Woj. Here we go.
Meanwhile,
Now-
back in Double Dare,
Now, it should be noted that Double Dare, like most other game shows, has some home game editions and some games that crossed over to the consoles as well.
That's right.
So,
the only
Double
one,
Dare.
the only one
Go
I'm
ahead.
familiar with is the NES version.
There was also one for the PC as
And
well.
there were some LCD games based on Double Dare too, like Remco.
And there was also a few board games as well.
Yep. One was Wet and Wild Double Dare.
Right. And then there was just the regular Double Dare as well. Now, both versions did not include a, how to do physical. It had all the stuff you needed for the physical challenges and everything, but it didn't have what you needed to do for the obstacle course.
So did the winner just win? No bonus?
I don't know because I never owned a copy of
Of a board game.
that board game.
Yeah, the only
Well,
like
you might be
I said,
able to pick that
about
up
the
on
NES
eBay.
version, basically, I mean, the question round, everything was multiple choice, and the controls for the physical challenge were kind of awkward, as they were basically the same kinds of physical challenges, just with different window dressing. It was basically just throwing things at a target, although the controls were kind of awkward in terms
They
of...
were a nightmare when I played it.
Yeah, especially
Right.
the obstacle course where you had to rock the D-pad left to right just to run.
I mean, you should just use the A and B buttons.
You would think. I mean, considering this is from Game Tech, you may remember them as the company that brought us all the game show games from the 80s and 90s.
And it even Double Dare has even made a cameo appearance in the Cleveland show too.
Cool.
I mean, I think just almost every show where people are watching TV in the background in the 80s and 90s had some kind of Double Dare clip. Ever.
Oh,
And also the Goldbergs too.
The only
I'll tell you something. Even Good Charlotte parodied Double Dare in a song they did.
I mean, the only one I remember at the top of my head was Ghost Dad, where they were playing Double Dare in the background.
Right. Now, now, of course, we all know that Mark also did What Would You Do, but that was more of an audience participation.
Yeah, it was very Truth or Consequences-esque.
Right.
So basically, what would you do is basically like Truth or Consequences. For kids.
Right.
I just said that.
Sorry. My brain.
He had a brain fart, folks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and afterwards, after Double Dare ended, Mark got his own original creation off the ground in your brain.
right. Now, which was also a little bit of a stunt show as well, but that used the Tiger
2XL.
That was a lot of fun right there. The 2XL toys
that-
I loved.
But that was more or less also, I believe, that was Tigers doing the 2XL.
Yes.
Yeah. Originally done by Mego back in the 70s.
Yeah, Tiger reintroduced the toy in the early 90s.
And also Mark Summers had another one of his old shows as well, History IQ, which was also on History Channel.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the one where he collaborated with Mike Klinghoffer and Jeffrey Darby again.
And John Harvey was the announcer.
Yep.
Yeah, that was done around the same time that they were that Double Dare 2000 was airing.
Sorry.
It only lasted one season. Pick your brain.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
season for Pick Your Brain, 2 seasons for History IQ.
Right.
Ooh.
Now, we have to probably talk briefly about Mark Summers' other game show that now he hosted two others that I can recall. He hosted one called Majority Rules.
Well, that was one that was kind of had very limited distribution here in the States. The
Yeah,
only
don't
reason I
forget
know about
couch
that
potato.
the only reason I know about that Majority Rules is because Scott Hostetler was on it.
And also he did Nova
Yeah,
Quest as
yeah.
well.
He did couch potatoes as well.
And he also did well, we also can't forget that he did the CDI games for I think Joker's Wild.
And
Wait a
don't
minute, there was
forget
a
he
CDI game based on Joker's Wild?
He did Joker's Wild Jr. for CDI, and Wink,
Right.
did,
Wink
and
Martindale.
don't,
Wink Martindale did the regular Joker's Wild.
and
Oh,
don't
wow.
forget and don't forget Mark Summers did a pilot for the combination lock.
Oh yeah. John Ritchie's game that he still can't get off. That's still in
Development Hell.
development hell, yeah. Now
Yeah.
I actually kind of like now that's another topic, pilots
it's on.
that yeah.
Meanwhile, I mean, right in the intervening years, and basically as we transitioned over to the 20 teens, Mark Summers would reunite with Harvey on occasion on National Beer Day in Philadelphia to host.
Uncle Dare.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically it would be college kids who grew up watching the show,
Yeah.
answering questions about Philadelphia and beer. Well, and
And
that's
Mark had a potty mouth during that.
yeah, basically it's basically kind of what you would see with Bob Saget is doing now, just basically showing that I'm not the clean cut guy you think I am.
And there's one scene on YouTube where like he tries to explain the rules, and Anthony asks the question, and he says, "Shut the f up."
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically
now-
he does
now-
not like people shouting out answers.
Right. And I think we can all agree to that in some point when we're doing shows at conventions. We don't like people shouting out points and everything.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember also one time when during the time Harvey would come out on stage and basically would tell Mark that every time he swears, he gets a pie in the face.
Or
And that's something that I think it's been well known and documented that Mark had OCD, and
Right.
for him to have that and to host probably one of the messiest game shows on TV, to us here at Game Show Talking Fun,
We salute
know,
you.
yes,
That's
we
amazing.
salute you
That is amazing.
to hosting this game show that brought joy, laughter, and made us think for 30 minutes and seeing if we could answer the questions as well.
Yeah, the thing is, Mark has talked about how he feels that the media has kind of overblown all the stories you hear about him. He says that it really wasn't that big of a deal on set. It was more of an issue in his personal life than on
Right.
television.
Right. But, and us here, Mark, if you do get a chance if you are listening to this podcast later on down the road, us here at Game Show Talking Fun, we want to say thank you for bringing back a game show from our childhood and giving it another shot.
And
Nina-
also for taking good care of yourself, because Mark has had a lot of health issues in recent years between
Right.
the car accident and getting diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh no.
And also, we can't forget he was also the host of Unwrapped.
Yeah, he
on Food Network.
Yeah, he pretty much became the prince of the Food Network for well over a decade. I mean, that's pretty much what most of his post-Nickelodeon career has been, also with producing shows on the Food Network, such as Restaurant Impossible.
Now, is he still producing shows over there, or is he, or is that?
Let me Google that.
I don't think so. I think
let me-
he left his post at the Food Network to produce Double Dare.
Right. Because I think that's one that even the fans reached out to him to come back and do.
Yeah, and it also, in a post Dan Schneider world, it became easier for Mark to do what he wants on Nickelodeon since Dan Schneider has gotten the Harvey Weinstein treatment.
Ooh, we
Oh,
It's
won't.
pretty much
We'll-
the same as John Kay, but it's a different story.
Yeah, we won't talk about that here on this podcast because we don't want to have YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the name Harvey Weinstein is enough to let you know what he's been doing.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Do you think
We don't
that?
want that to happen to this
Right.
podcast.
Now, here's my question, Moj. With this, do you think that means that Mark now has probably more say with Nickelodeon since he was probably there from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, he was there. I mean, considering I don't know how many executives are there now who were there 30 years ago, but I know that Nickelodeon sees him as just considering we live in this era of what's old is new again in Hollywood,
Right.
and they
Take a look-
see him as the epitome of what's old is new.
I mean, this guy brought that famous catch line: "On your mark, get set, go."
Yeah,
Right.
and also the thing is, most of his career has been on cable television between Nickelodeon and the Food Network.
Right, and we should note that throughout all that, Double Dare did win the Cable Ace Award.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was back in the days before the Emmys acknowledged cable television.
Right.
Then there was actually called special episodes of Super Sloppy Double Dare. Did we already talk about those yet?
Yes, we did.
Oh, I was going to add my own input on it. Darn it.
Yeah, we did.
Ah, well.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, thanks to him being mostly known for kid-friendly television, Mark hasn't really been taken seriously as far as getting jobs on major TV networks. As an example, when it came time to replace Bob Barker on The Price is Right, Mark tried to get an audition, but the executives at CBS either A, didn't know who he was, or B, thought he was just a clown.
Or
Right.
C, they didn't even care.
I
reckon
think
he would've done a good
think in a way, I think maybe in a way that Roger did. I
'cause
think
that's the
Roger.
thing.
I think Roger did try to get him in for the audition.
Yeah, but Les Moonves refused. I mean, he even had Neil Patrick Harris championing Mark for getting him an audition, but still Les Moonves said no.
Well, we all know what happened to him. So
We're not mentioning it on here.
yeah,
Yeah,
That's never a topic.
or should I say HW?
yeah.
Well, we got 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to be back on Monday again. That one, don't know what the topic is yet. I have to talk to Dave once again about that. But like I said in the last video, if you like what you see here, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down there, and that
Don't
little
forget to hit that bell. Matthew, thank you.
There's the bell. And remember, when you hear the bell, think of all the fun you could be having listening to Game Show Talking Fun.
Yep.
So, yep. Don't forget to hit that bell for the notifications to be notified of new episodes of the podcast of Game Show Talking Fun. And when we do upload our game show convention videos, and also like and subscribe, like us on Facebook at Lost Silver Productions as well. And we want to hear about your favorite comments or your favorite memories of Double Dare, whether it be from the original series, Double Dare 2000, or the current version. We want to hear what you have to say about it. So, keep the conversation going down there in the comment section below this video. And we'll be back next Monday with our next topic.
Well, we still have 10 minutes to go.
Right. And, I'm just getting everything else out here. And also with prizes as well. We want to hear over on the Facebook page, what type of prizes you would like to have us give out, or that you would like to try to win over when we come and do our shows over at the conventions as well. So hopefully all of you are looking forward to our new season of new shows, new programming. We're going to try to get a podcast out every week. keep the content going, so you guys know where we are in this. Woj, in closing, where do you see Double Dare and the future of game shows on Nick in the future? Where do you see this going now?
What can you say about Double Dare that hasn't already been said over the last 30 plus years?
That's right.
Other than Double Dare is so fine, it's so fine, it blows my mind.
But has this opened the door now for other potential classic Nick game shows, or even for them to explore newer shows as well, more original content shows?
Well, first of all, you do need to remember that a few years back, Nickelodeon had the feature film about Legends of the Hidden Temple, where they brought in Kirk Fogg and D. Bradley Baker in their respective roles. So I think that along with the Comic-Con special they did for Double Dare and Legends of the Hidden Temple, and also the board game Legends of the Hidden Temple that was reviewed for this channel.
Right.
There's
by our good friend Brian Sapinski. That is actually our most reviewed. So and the game is I think the game is still on sale. I think it's still in print at Target. If you can't find it in your local Target store, go online to Target.com and search for it that way. It's
on eBay.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I think Legends is the big ticket show for the big revival. I mean, the rest of the shows don't have the same following or have already been done before. I mean, Nick Arcade, I know, has a following online, so there's an outside chance of that happening. I don't see Finders Keepers or Think Fast happening. And I don't see Get the Picture happening. I mean, other than that, I think there will be more room for new concepts to come in.
Right. And we'll save Legends for another podcast and everything. And I think Legends deserves to have its own podcast. What do you think, guys?
Considering how much I think there's enough material to fill 90 minutes there.
Yep.
Right. Now, same question to you, Elliot. I mean, I just called Chuck Elliott. I called Chuck Elliott.
Right, for the South Map.
Guys, come on. All right.
Now, Chuck, See, when we do the podcast so many times, and we have different people on for different episodes and everything, names blur together. So, Chuck, in your opinion, I'm going to ask you the same question. Where do you see Double Dare going now? And does this open the door for other shows like Legends and Nick Arcade to come back?
Okay, here's my take. Okay, since we're still talking about Double Dare, I think it's going to go on for another few more seasons, and it still could open the floodgates for more classic Nick game shows to come back. Like, I could definitely see Nick Arcade and Legends come back, but we just have to wait to see what the executives have to say about it.
All right, short, sweet. And Carla, I'm going to pose you the same question as well. Where do you see this going now with Double Dare coming back? Does it open the door for other classic Nick game shows to come back, like Nick Arcade and Legends?
I think so. And even game shows that weren't Nickelodeon related, like A for Smart and the Fifth Grader, to come into Nickelodeon.
Right. And I think that wraps up and I'm agreeing with Woj as well. If I was the big guy, the head cheese at Nick, I would definitely be pushing right now. I would be on the phone making those calls to Stone Stanley and trying to get Legends back, and maybe have Kirk come back if he wants to, because the position would always be there for him. Or
Baker, because he's got other shows like American Dad and all that stuff.
Right. But the doors would be open for them to reprise their roles again, and everything. So with that in conclusion, we can agree Double Dare, since it's come back for its second season, has been the savior once again of Nickelodeon. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
And we just got all 8 flags in this podcast.
Right. So with that, and with it, I'd like to thank my my roundtable discussion people here. Chuck, thank you for joining us again. Always a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
No problem. Anytime.
Carla from Down Under, I thank you for being here as well.
Anytime.
Woj, thank you for being my co-host with this podcast as well.
Best way to spend Memorial Day.
And to all of us here at Game Show Talkin' Fun, our condolences and best wishes go out to Dave and his family in this time. Hopefully we'll see Dave back next week, along with all of you guys as well. And have a safe week, and we'll see you next time for more of Game Show Talkin' Fun. Until then, I'm Scott. For everybody here at Lost Silver Productions, we wish you the best, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.
Night.
Bye-bye.